I predict that Gardasil will become the greatest medical scandal of all times, because at some point in time, the evidence will add up to prove that this vaccine has absolutely no effect on cervical cancer, and that the very many adverse effects which destroy lives and even kill serve no other purpose than to generate profit for the manufacturers. Former Merck physician.
What I understood about human papillomavirus is that it's an infection that comes and goes. And it's been around for a long time, and it's in many animals, including lizards and primates. It's not just in humans, that babies are born with it. So I was really surprised that here's this virus that's been around and so prevalent, and it's being blamed on giving cancers to people. And then what I found out was that those cancers are not necessarily solely attributed to this virus, but yet this virus was being targeted by a vaccine.
There's so many brilliant interviews that were done during the Vax tour. But I will say that one of the memories that really stands out to me is the moment we pulled into Utah and Polly interviewed Colton Barrett and his mother.
So tell us what happened to you.
Well, Colton was a 13-year-old healthy, strong boy. He loved baseball, motorcycle, anything that has to do with an adrenaline rush. He was going to go to scout camp. For scout camp, you have to have a physical. So we went to the doctor's office, and the doctor says, "Hey, he's the age that you should get the HPV vaccine." I said, "Okay, how come?" "Well, it can help prevent cancer, and even if he's not promiscuous, he can still give it to his wife when he gets married." I said, "Oh, well, that sounds like a pretty good thing then." So he was administered the vaccine, and on the third round, 2 weeks after, he started having a really bad neck ache. The next day, he went motorcycle riding with his dad, and that day he came home, he was pale, starting to feel nauseous, really sore neck. It didn't feel good. He went to bed, and the next day I checked on him. He still didn't want to get out of bed. I just thought, man, you're just really weak and exhausted. And that evening, when he sat up to take a drink of water, he says, "Mom, can you give that to me in my left hand? I can't use my right arm very good. It's weak." And he tried to lift up, and all of a sudden he just flopped back, and his head just hit the pillow. And I went, "Do you have spinal meningitis?" You know, it was my first really bad fear. So my husband took him in to Instacare Monday morning, February 17th, 2014. Holding his head for him because he couldn't get out of bed. The paralysis just went down, down, down after the first 4 to 5 days, where he was completely paralyzed from the neck down, had no movement at all. Colton, give me your eyebrows. You were doing them better than that the other night. There you go. Show me yes. Show me yes. Show me no.
Yeah. But you have to have this breathing apparatus with you the whole time.
Yeah, it's about 15 pounds, so I always have to have someone with me to carry it, to get around.
It's a literal ball and chain for him.
And the whole time, watching this box on his side with this hose going to his throat, breathing for him to, and then he could speak, waiting for that breath to come from that box. And it was a realization that changed my life forever. I remember staring at this and watching this interview go on and watching this box and thinking, we say we got rid of the iron lung.
His right arm is completely paralyzed. His left arm only has minimal function now. And he's lucky he's regained his legs and his core strength.
So the people who gave you this vaccine, where are they now? What do they say?
Our doctor is he's the doctor that delivered him. He's just a family practice doctor. I still like him. I am upset that he still wants to give the vaccine, but you know, he will not give it to boys anymore. He's cautioning on girls to give it to girls, but
so he's not going to give the HPV vaccine to boys.
Correct.
Colton, do you just realise how many boys?
Yeah,
that you just
it's
saved?
good he's at least not doing it to boys, but lots of girls can still get hurt.
All right, so let's start by talking about your life before Gardasil.
I was more artistic. I wasn't into sports, although I did like to go jogging and do exercises whenever the weather was nice. Let's see.
Yeah, I was a competitive club soccer player. I was trying out for ODP, which is like playing for the state and stuff.
Soccer?
Yes.
Yeah.
She played year round, and on top of that, right around that time, she was running track, the 400, 800, and long jump. Prior to the Gardasil shot, Corinne was academic excellence. You know, she always great grades.
I was athletic, straight A's in school, really no health issues before. And
What sport did you play?
Volleyball.
You were a volleyball?
Big volleyball player.
Basketball was my favorite. I played that from kindergarten up to my senior year of high school. And then I would play softball and volleyball.
Top honors in her high school, graduated top in her class. Top of that, she was a head cheerleader for 3 years, captain of the cheerleaders, won a national competition.
I did karate. I was almost a black belt. I could take down a 40-year-old black belt who used to spar with me.
We got the shots. She was accepted that summer into a high ballet school at the University of Irvine and could not dance.
Ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop, pretty much everything I could possibly do, I did.
And she was doing really well in school, and she was really popular, and she actually had auditioned with Disney, and they wanted to fly her out to California, and she had a very promising future.
Yeah, I was really active. I started going to the gym with her probably age like 13.
4 or 5 times a week,
Yeah.
Played volleyball.
So sleeping for a couple of days was out of character?
Completely.
She was playing basketball, she was doing track. She made varsity wrestling her freshman year and had a grip of friends. And her freshman year, that's when she got that HPV vaccine and everything changed for her. She was a straight A student. Everything she was doing was for scholarships. She was college bound. That's where she was going. And this destroyed that for her.
I had never seen a vaccine cause so much devastation as I had with the HPV vaccines.
The Gardasil vaccine is among the most injurious of any vaccination that's ever been manufactured in the United States.
Be it anecdotal or not, way too many cases and complaints of having neurological insults soon after that vaccine is given, even with the first dose.
Gardasil is probably the single worst mass vaccine that we've ever seen.
So what we were seeing was these really high-functioning teenagers ending up in wheelchairs, and some of them actually ending up dying or killing themselves. And I don't think you can ever justify that for an infection that comes and goes, that causes very little disease in and of itself, and something where pap smears were doing such a good job. It really just didn't make any sense to me.
This vaccine targets millions of preteens and teens for whom the risk of dying from cervical cancer is 0.
They started talking to me about get my HPV shot, and I turned them down about 1 or 2 times.
This doctor sat down and badgered us for 45 minutes.
They started showing me photos and saying that I'm gonna get this and that I need to take this shot.
Photos of what?
Photos of cervical cancer and just what it will happen if you don't get the shot, blisters and different things, and it scared me. I was scared. I didn't want that.
Every single time I went in, she was like practically shoving it down my throat.
The doctor literally scared me into taking this vaccine. I had said no twice before because it was too new.
You know, nobody in their right mind would ever take this vaccine if they actually read the clinical literature.
She pushed my buttons just enough, trying to make me feel like a bad mother if I didn't give Caitlin the shot. You know, do you want your daughter to get cervical cancer? Who wants their child to get cancer?
You need to get this vaccine. What's going to happen when you get cervical cancer and die?
Well, cancer is a scary word, so of course I started to listen.
Oh wow, oh my gosh, sign me up. I don't ever want to have cancer.
I was just afraid of the word cancer, so I thought, oh my god, I have to go get this, it's free. You know, I was young, I didn't know anything about this, so I just was like, okay, and just agreed to it.
The death rates in the Gardasil trials were 37 times the death rates for cervical cancer. Children who take that vaccine, the Gardasil vaccine, are 37 times more likely to die from the vaccine than they are to die from cervical cancer.
I really wasn't educated about Gardasil at the time, so I allowed the vaccination. The biggest mistake of my life.
So I go and get the first shot, and from what I was told by my doctor, I immediately went into a seizure. I was on the floor seizing, and then I just passed out cold.
So she had a baseline physical, but it was also the same day she got her second vaccination of Gardasil. The doctor detected a heart arrhythmia. In all of her 20 years, there had never been any heart arrhythmia. She never had any symptoms or any indication of any difficulty. No one in the family ever had a heart problem. So we were really surprised.
I started having severe leg pain. I couldn't move. I couldn't get up out of bed.
Could not move my arms. My leg joints would feel like my leg was about to come out, and it would be in like excruciating pain.
Moments where I couldn't move my legs.
She just matter-of-factly says, I can't walk. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, my legs don't work.
Her legs in particular hurt really, really bad. Her hips and her knee joints were very, very painful.
It would be like feeling paralyzed. Sometimes it was one leg, sometimes it was both legs.
And that was it. He never regained his ability to fully walk. We would go out, he would walk very, very little, and I would see his legs just start to collapse like an accordion.
She had lost the ability to walk. She couldn't see very well. Her vision was doubled and blurred. She couldn't read anymore. She began to regress. She became like a 9-year-old child.
They gave me my shots in my left thigh, and the last one hurt really bad. It felt like they were injecting fire in my leg.
She got the third shot. Within 2 weeks, she was hospitalized, and she remained hospitalized for 8 solid months.
She's been hospitalized 9 times in 26 months.
Hospitalized for what?
For extreme pain that is uncontrollable.
Where is your pain when you have it?
Absolutely everywhere.
Her first major symptom was excruciating head pain. Like the worst migraine you could ever have times 10.
My joints, my spine, my head especially.
She became light sensitive. She became sound sensitive. She had to be in a dark room.
Really, really bad migraines and dizzy spells and fatigue that was so severe that she couldn't even get out of bed that day.
Headaches. At first they started off slow, and then I started to get them like every day, and they would start in the back and work their way forward, very intense and distracting, like I couldn't really think straight. I got my period for the first time, and then it went away forever, like it never came back.
So she was diagnosed with a very rare disease called post-histoplasmosis fibrosing mediastinitis. In her right mediastinum, she has a 10-centimeter tissue mass. It's inoperable.
She has this, I'm sorry, Jeff.
We're just hoping it won't grow. We don't know. I mean, we're taking it day by day. It's by all her vitals, so they cannot do any operations to try to take it out.
She came down with pneumonia, bronchitis, 2 ear infections, a sinus infection, a throat infection, and constant thrush.
So much pain, it's right even now. And you know, I just wish someone would reach in my back and rip out my spine. I cannot take this anymore.
This is an djetetu.
What it does is basically it goes up my nose and down my throat, and it goes past my stomach into my jejunum, or the first part of the small intestine, because my stomach is completely paralyzed.
Your stomach is paralyzed?
Yes.
The djetetu wouldn't work, and we had to be put on a port for nutrition, which she was on for 3 years.
3 years?
The child never ate a meal for 3 years. And if that wasn't bad enough, if she had suffered enough pain, then she had this excruciating long bone pain in her legs. And we would have to ice her legs down to give her relief. And she was miserable. She was just miserable. And she would say to me, she'd say, I want to go home. And she'd be in this house and she would say, I want to go home. And she was talking about to be with the Lord.
I went in for a gynecologist appointment, got a pap smear, and they told me it came back abnormal. And I immediately started freaking out because I've never had one abnormal.
Very few doctors have ever heard of it. Nobody knows how to treat it. Anything they prescribe, she's a guinea pig. She's the initial guinea pig. So they put her on an immunosuppressant and itraconazole, which is an antifungal medication. I'll dump some of them out. This is what it looks like to be on Gardasil. The aftermath of it. And this is just one bag. We got about 15 more at home.
I said, okay. I said, so what does that mean about the abnormal cells? And she said, well, they're precancerous. And I said, cancerous for what? And she said, cervical cancer.
So we have to worry the rest of her life if the inflammation in her body is going to make that mass grow again.
I should have never got those shots because in my mind, I knew that they were what gave me HPV.
So the problem with Gardasil, like most vaccines, is it was never tested against a true placebo, an inert placebo. And the CDC and HHS say, if you don't test it against a true placebo, it's not science.
A placebo is just an inert substance that doesn't cause any damage, that they give one group of individuals in a particular clinical study, and then they give the drug. That's the experimental group. They give that to another set of individuals. The people that were supposed to be the control group, they got aluminum. And when they did that, out of every 100 patients, they had at least 2 severe autoimmune events.
You have no way of gauging whether the injuries you're seeing from the product are being caused by that product or whether they're just bad, sad coincidences.
The CDC knew about this. Merck, the manufacturer of the Gardasil vaccine, knew about this. It's as plain as the nose on your face. All you have to do is look at the clinical trial data.
The entity that is actually performing the study and paying for the study is Merck. So Merck got to decide which injuries were being caused by Gardasil and which were just bad coincidences. And because it had that power, it just wrote them all off as bad coincidences. You can do that when there's no placebo, because the injuries they were seeing in the control group, where the girls were getting aluminum neurotoxins, were identical to the injuries they were getting in the Gardasil group. So they said, well, we don't have to report any of these as vaccine injuries. So they were able to license something that is insanely dangerous.
After all the struggles and fights, and we thought she was finally getting a little better, she went to sleep. She wasn't feeling good during the day, and I went in to check on her, and she looked like she was very still. She was in her bed, and she had passed away, and I tried to revive her, but she was gone. I loved her so much. I would have given my life for her. She was just a good kid, and her mom made a bad choice.
The last hug I gave her, I was standing on the step hugging her, and I wanted her to stay longer. She said, no, Mom, I want to get back to school. Okay, I'll see you in a couple weeks. But in the interim, the police came to our door one night. So I said to them, is this about my daughter? And they said, yes. And I said, was she in an accident? They said, no. They said they found her dead in her bed at school and that they didn't know what happened. And so, I don't know if anyone's ever had somebody
I think if there was one vaccine that should be eliminated out of the schedule immediately, and there would be absolutely no ramifications, no problems with diseases cropping up and people dying, that vaccine has to go.
So tell us from your point of view.
Well, it does suck, like, not being able to play sports anymore. Because I did do a lot of sports, and it was my favorite.
You are awesome sportsman. It's just seeing photos of you.
Yeah, I have to sit on the sideline, just watch everybody. But getting used to it, so it's not as bad anymore.
The one thing about Colton is he does always smile, and you know, he's an awesome kid that way. He doesn't complain. You're good, huh?
Yeah, I guess.